All right, guys. I'm here with my good buddy, Big Rich. Um, we're going to speak a little bit tonight about conspiracy. He's the guy when it comes to that. He's definitely the man when it comes to conspiracy. That's who you want to talk to. So, Rich, if you would give us a little bit of background on you and give us some information about what you do and your Facebook page, your group.
Yeah, absolutely, man. First off, Joe, it's good to be with you again. I know we hadn't really sat down and chopped it up since we had first started doing the podcast. We were talking about Dogman, and I was I was so green back then. I really didn't, we were just shooting from the hip. But thank you for having me on your show, dude, and on your page. But basically, I uh, I have a show. It's called the Big Rich Show. It used to be a couple of different shows, kind of converged them into one, and we pretty much do everything, man. We I do touch on conspiracy a lot on my fan pages and on my website, but I do everything from entertainment, musicians, directors. We talk Bigfoot, we talk ghosts, anything under the sun. And tonight, when you reached out to me, we're going to talk a little bit about conspiracy and the history and the intrigue and what draws people to it. And I was excited, man. I'm ready to go, and hopefully, I'll be able to give your fans some information that they can keep with them for life.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, yeah. Thanks for coming on, man. Like I said, man, yeah, you're the go-to guy in conspiracy, and this is a subject. It's unlike anything else when it comes to like UFO or Bigfoot or paranormal. People are either into it or they're not,
Hmm.
and like even the ones that aren't into it, if you talk about conspiracy, they know something about that. They
Right.
understand, conspiracy, whether it's JFK, 9/11, um, stuff involving the government, whatever government cover up conspiracy that there is, people are intrigued with that, and they at least
Hmm.
have some kind of a knowledge,
Sure,
going on. That
sure.
why do you think that is?
Well, one, I think that people, humans in general, we seek the truth behind everything. A lot of people will take things at face value, but when they're alone sitting at home, everyone wonders. You'll look up at the sky, you look at the stars, and you'll think to yourself, is there really something up there? Maybe did we go to the moon? Are there aliens? Is there a God? So these questions go through every person's mind, and whether they act on it to research it or study it is upon that person. So I think the intrigue and what draws people to it is the mystery because, well, first let's back up a little. Let's talk like the word conspiracy is very degrading to start out with because it really didn't come into use in the United States until the 1960s. And then before that, conspiracy would be tied to um, a coup or take a government, trying to take over a government, people conspiring to overthrow a king or the first few presidents we had in the U.S. Or to take territories. That was the conspiracy, how the word was used then. And then it became in the government in the 60s where any scientist or a politician that thought outside the box or would give you more of a real look at a story, they were considered, oh, that they're conspiring. It's a conspiracy. And then the word conspiracy theory and theorists came into play. And from then it's just snowballed. Now anything that's not mainstream is considered conspiracy. Oh, you're a conspiracy. Oh, it's a conspiracy. So it's kind of like, basically it's an easy way for somebody to shut you down if they don't want to hear something that they don't understand. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, I think that the draw to it is we all have that inner kid inside of us that wants to know, peek behind the curtain, see the wizard,
Yeah.
Wizard of Oz. So, um, that's my take on that.
Yeah. Yeah, and plus, I think that at some point in time in everyone's life, we feel like we're being conspired against. So maybe that's part
Sure.
of the draw. Whether it's office politics or
Hmm.
even your own family and friends in your circle, you sometimes you always feel like you're being conspired against,
Right.
at some
Yeah.
point in time.
Even on the job, you feel like, man, are they out to get me? Is this guy want my position? Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that can fall into the line right there.
yeah,
And what I was going with it earlier about the term is conspiracy theories in general are widely acknowledged to be a loaded term because you know, nowadays we'll see politicians or even scientists mock or dismiss allegations against themselves because they'll just say, "Oh, it's a conspiracy theory," And I'll give you a perfect example: is for 30 years people would write and talk about, and this is a little. When I was with Junior, when we were doing the show back when we very first started, we would have this little thing called "What the Facts," where we would go back and uncover conspiracies that turned out to be true.
hmm
Um, Canada's government had a gaydar machine. This is no joke.
yeah,
And over a 10-year period, they tested a couple 100,000 Mounties, government officials, anyone who was in the government. They would attach them to this machine, and then they would play homosexual pornography or other things. And if they got a rap, the machine would tell them. And they ended up firing a couple thousand people over that.
wow,
And then they caught flack. And then they swept it under the rug like it as it never happened. And then people came out about it that got fired. And they're like, we don't know what you're talking about. They're crazy. And now the documents surfaced in the early 2000s. And it's something that, I mean, people laugh at it, but it's not funny when you look back at the grand scheme of things now.
right,
Because everybody's like, oh, he has gaydar. He can tell somebody's gay. And I'm not against, I love everyone, so don't think
yeah,
I'm that. That was one of the things that we brought up. And I just thought it was very interesting because um, yesterday's conspiracies always become today's incontrivable facts, you know,
yeah,
because you can only suppress the truth so long
yeah,
before it starts bubbling up and evidence will start rearing its head. And I don't know if you know, I can keep going with a couple of things if you want to chime
yeah,
in,
yeah.
but
No, go ahead, go ahead.
there's basically three types of conspiracies. And, for people that aren't into it, you have what they call the event conspiracies or event conspiracy theories, and these refer to let me give you an example, like you were saying earlier, 9/11, the spread of the AIDS virus, um, Kennedy's assassination, us going to war in Vietnam and them modifying the weather. These are what you would call event conspiracies. Uh, oh, hey, somebody's laundry's done. No, I'm just kidding. Um, that they're limited and well defined events in our history that were sold to us by the media, the propaganda media, but then now we come to find out there are documents or truths behind the AIDS virus or what happened with 9/11 or JFK's assassination. There are some things that'll make you go, maybe these guys that were, the whistleblowers are saying, hey, there was something behind this, or they were telling the truth because now the documents prove that. And that's your event conspiracy. Then you have what they call the systemic conspiracy theory. And what that is these are the ones where you hear about government overthrows, the New World Order, the Freemasons, the Catholic Church being, this evil entity with, all these things going on. That falls into the systemic conspiracy theories. Then the last one we have is what they call super conspiracy theories. And these are ones that are based off your aliens, your Area 51, your David Ikes, and so on. So those are your three main. There's three branches, and they are broke down, and there are different people that have different specializations in each. But if for the people out there that are listening or watch this later, there are three types, and I just tried to break them down as simple as I could. And I like to stay in the super conspiracy, the UFO, alien, paranormal, and Bigfoot and things like that. And they do. What's funny is a lot of people throw Bigfoot into the conspiracies because they believe oh well, the very first footage and the stories were they were just faked or there was conspiracy, and now all these years later, it's what they call non-tangible evidence conspiracies that we really, like Noah's Ark, Antarctica, flat Earth, Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Dogmen, where people have eyewitness accounts, and we have some photography, but there's nothing really tangible to prove it. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
but even though we can come up with molds and alien abduction stories, it's just they all these things fall under the non-tangible conspiracy, and then you have your tangible conspiracies, which are the JFK assassination, 9/11s, the Canadian deal that I talked about. These are things that there's actual documents and proof that it could have happened other than the way we were sold. So there we have it. I'll shut up for a minute.
No, no, thanks, man. That's a lot of good information. I didn't even realize there was that that type of conspiracy, or at least those labels, for
Right.
that. You know, that's
Yeah.
that's good information too. What about where would the like the I guess something that's probably near and dear to both of our hearts, like the medical side
Oh yeah.
conspiracy? Where would that fall under? You think, or what does it fall under?
Well, actually, the medical will fall under what it wouldn't be event. It would probably be systemic, as far as like if you're talking about like I'm gonna give you the perfect example. We have one going on right now, the coronavirus. A lot of people believe, and they've researched. They're coming to find out that this was a designer flu, a hybrid designer flu that was being worked on in the bio lab in Wuhan. Wuhan, China actually has a bio lab, and there's a few different. Oh, what's the name of that company? It's a medical company that helped fund them to build their first one. And the original doctor that got out, he ended up dying as well. But that's something that, you know, Thailand, India, they're starting to cure this flu with some of the AIDS medication. So what they're saying is that they think that they took what breaks down your immune system with the HIV,
Yeah,
and they tried to splice that into a flu and then created the coronavirus. They weren't expecting it to get out. A doctor got sick and came home, and that's how it spread. Is the story, and it didn't come from a bat, is what the. So it would be systemic, I guess. It would be what they call a systemic conspiracy theory.
okay.
But there is proof. I mean, and it's coming up. So I don't know.
Pretty cool. So, what are some of your favorite? I don't know where the coronavirus falls in, but what are some of your favorite modern conspiracies?
Oh man,
I know it's probably on the list a mile long.
no, I mean, I was really deep into the 9/11 for a while because um, there is some CGI footage. You can watch it. It's right there. It's unmanipulated. Um, a lot of the stories don't match up. Living here in Oklahoma, in Norman, especially, where these hijackers supposedly trained to fly planes,
Yeah,
some of their addresses and names don't even check out here locally. So what, were they undercover while they lived here and were doing the training? Who knows? I don't know. So 9/11 was always big to me because it really changed the direction of our country, because that's when you see the TSA kicked in, and now we have to we're policed harder to we can't come and go as we please, and a lot of other things were ushered in
yeah,
after 9/11, and it makes you scratch your head. JFK is a big one too.
yeah,
I mean, when Trump released some of those documents a couple of years back, about a year and a half ago, man, I mean, it makes you go, "Wow, was there two shooters?" Because they're saying now that there was documentation that was not provided by the Warren committee, that there were two separate shooters. So And that was debunked. They tried to debunk that for years, saying, "Oh, conspiracy." So those are probably two of my favorite. And aliens, man, I love aliens. Area 51, anything that deals with deep underground military bases or the laboratories. I'm big into that. Man, we have them all over the U.S. And those are more spooky, scary. I have fun with because we really, there again, we don't have tangible proof on the UFO. I mean, we have pictures and we have guys that say, "Oh, I have material," but they're not tangible like the 9/11s, the JFKs, where we actually have documents, footage, things that we can examine.
Yeah.
So
Something that I'm gonna probably keep going back to that because something that I'm interested in is always like government stuff.
hmm
Uh, what do you think about our Second Amendment conspiracy that the government trying to take away our weapons? Do you think there's any truth to that? And
yeah,
have
well,
you have you looked into that at all?
a little bit. I mean, a little bit. Yeah, I'm gonna say yes. There is a lot of truth to it. And people call me crazy, and I don't care anymore. I mean, at
Yeah,
this
oh, it's
age,
like Jordan Club. Yeah, I don't
yeah,
care.
no, I'm pushing 50, but there is a shadow government. There's a government behind the government, and if you research it and really do your homework, you'll understand what I'm talking about, and it'll make more sense. But if you just hear me saying it to you, you're like, oh, shadow government, what's that? No, I'm not talking about an Illuminati. I am talking about there is an upper echelon of very influential, wealthy people who control where every government in this world goes, how they unfold, whether they're going to be socialist, communist, a republic, a democratic republic, um, and you're seeing that now with Trump because Trump was a wild card. You know, he got in and he's already a billionaire. He don't
Right,
care about lining his pockets.
right.
What is that man's mindset? He's a businessman. He's not a politician. So what is he thinking? Man, he looks at America and the people as his business. And this business was X trillions of dollars in debt. How am I going to make this business profitable? That's how Trump's thinking. So he's
Yeah.
like, well, man, he starts looking at all the different. Oh man, well we got this, and we got this deal with China, and then we have the North American deal with Canada and Mexico where we're getting reamed in the butt. So he's like, man, we're getting rid of all that shit. Oh, excuse me, guys, sorry, because we're getting rid of all we're getting rid of all that, and we're gonna start making money. We're gonna start charging them. You see, and we're going to stop selling our oil to China and then buying it back at double the price the barrel just to pay them back any money we owed them. All that's done. He goes, we're going to start making money again. We're going to make America profitable. So this shadow government had to. The Republicans are going to obviously protect Trump as best they can, most of them. So they're working through the Democrats now. I mean, look at it. Trump wasn't even in office 2 weeks and they were talking impeachment. They've been talking impeachment since, the second or third day
Yeah.
that he was in office. And it's been an ongoing narrative. And every time, and it's not the Democrats themselves because they're being controlled and their pockets are so lined and they're all so it's a dirty swamp and they're all so dirty that if they don't follow orders they know because you think Pelosi really wants to be doing this stuff and making herself look bad. No, man, she knows she's being told and controlled. They're like, you're going to do this, and she has no choice because she's basically it was like the whole what's that guy that just I don't always kill myself, but when I do, I use
Epstein.
yeah,
Well,
I
see, I
use
was gonna get into that too with you, but yeah,
but yeah, that narrative drives directly into this because Epstein probably had a list of, if there's 200 Congress and Senate that knew him, there was probably 190 of them that have been to his island. Do you see what I'm saying?
oh yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
I mean, that could have brought the house of cards crumbling right there. So, yeah, he had to be off. He had so much dirt on the Clintons, it's pitiful. And what I find crazy about the Clintons, this is another conspiracy, is that anytime anyone had any dirt on them or was a close friend and knew too much and wasn't even going to whistleblow on them, they're found dead. They're either murdered or they committed suicide. There's over 30 people connected to the Clintons that have committed suicide or been murdered in the last 20 years.
Yeah, yeah.
How
That's one thing I was going to ask you about that. What any ideas about that, or do you want to stay alive?
No, I always tell people, I say, I don't worry about it because I paid Hillary off with sex. Bill don't mind. He was busy with Monica, and I was
Yeah.
handling Hillary, so she don't care if I talk bad about her. Just kidding, Hillary. Don't kill me. If I'm found dead, I don't want to die, guys.
Yeah.
I would never kill myself. No, but anyways, no, yeah, man, dude, the Clintons are man, they're modern day mafia, man. They're non-Italian mafia, and so are the Bidens, and I mean it goes deep, man. I mean, we could talk all night just about government stuff, and we could tie it right on into Obama and his husband. I mean, wife, Michael. I mean, Michelle.
There you go. Yeah.
I mean, look what happened there. You had a guy. All right, what was that lady in Hollywood that she was big, man? Everybody loved her. She was funny. She was a comedian, and she was. They asked, "What are we going to have first, the first woman or the first gay president?" She's like, "Oh, stop it! You already know that we've had the first gay president, Obama." And they're like, "What?" They're like, "You know, his wife,
Yeah.
Michelle's a transgender."
Yeah.
2 weeks later, she's dead.
Yeah.
And then another guy came out and spoke about it on TV nationally. A week later, he's found dead. So, I mean, come on. When things like that happen, it makes you go, maybe there's some truth behind this. And then
Yeah.
when you have her dancing on Ellen and you see
Hmm.
her junk flapping back and forth, I
His
don't know.
junk.
Yeah, his junk. His junk. Have you seen that video?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. And I mean, it's nothing to write home about. It's just a typical wiener, but it's there. Unless he had a prosthetic in his in the pants for some reason. And I mean, hell, he even looks like a man. You ever seen his hands?
Yeah.
I mean,
Man
yeah,
hands.
yeah,
Man hands.
it's wild. But no, yeah, I get shut down whenever I bring that up. And then another one too is that lady that what's her name? She does the talk show. Uh, something Williams.
I
Some
don't know who you're talking. Is it Wendy? It's not Wendy, is it?
Wendy Williams.
Okay, is it Wendy? Okay.
Yeah, there. I mean, man, for 15, 20 years, people have said, "Oh man, she's transgender," and I was like, "No, not Wendy Williams." Well, they just had her on the show the other day, and man, some junk was showing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know, man. It's wild. There's all kind of crazy stuff out there.
And shutting people up has been around for forever, right? I
Oh
mean, do you remember?
yeah.
Do you remember whenever the Enron stuff was going on,
Oh yeah, man.
and people were getting found dead too?
Yeah, yeah. I
You
mean,
know. I mean,
oh man. I mean, was that not the greatest Ponzi scheme ever, Enron? God, those guys made trillions off of nothing.
not for nothing, nothing.
Nothing. Thin
I,
air. They.
being here from Houston, that was a big deal.
Oh yeah.
And I remember one of the jokes was because it was Enron Field, the baseball field.
Hmm.
Before it was Minute Maid. It was Enron Field, and that was one of the jokes that they were doing a investigation to make sure all the runs scored were actually scored. That was pretty funny.
That's crazy.
But yeah, Enron was a big deal. I remember,
Hmm.
man. It
Hmm.
was crazy. You know.
Yeah. That. I mean, yeah. Things like that happen all the time now, though. It's like they say. All these millionaires and billionaire, multi-millionaire, the ones with the 100 million plus, and the billionaires, they all get together and they say, "Hey, man, what are we gonna do? How are we gonna make ourselves some more money? Oh, hey, let's just create a fake energy company and sell people ideas on what we want to do, and we'll just never really do it." And man, yeah, it turns out happens all the time. That's what the stock market is, man. A
Yeah.
few of us get lucky. We get in the stock market, we get in, we get out, we can make a little money. But that's monopoly money for the big boys.
Yeah.
That's all the stock market is. And very few, what I like to call the serfs, us, we ever really just strike gold. through
Yeah.
there have been people that have, but it's very hard. You know, so and another big conspiracy I like talking about this one too as well as the whole cloning.
Okay.
What's going on with cloning? I did a big show about that a while back because people were like, "Man, I'm gonna tell you this right now. With the and we're using it in medical right now, the immune cell therapy.
Right. Right.
You
Right. Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and man, that stuff has been around. I mean, that's basically we're slicing DNA, and it's baby DNA. You
Hmm.
know what I'm saying? That's the only way. So it almost ties into the abortion thing,
Right.
because these doctors they would sell certain things,
Hmm.
parts, pieces, blood, whatever, to these research labs, and that's how they were able to continue their research because it requires the cells and the DNA of a newborn.
Right.
So they've been trying to forever replicate this in the research labs. And I'm going to give you, people think, oh, that could never happen. Well, hello, guess what they're making now? Fake meat, fake chicken.
Yeah.
I say
Yeah.
fake, it's real. I call it soulless food. They are creating, cuts
It's a
of
good one.
beef,
Yeah.
chicken, pork, and they're basically creating it in these petri dishes, and it is the real deal. It's actual meat, and they're able to do it now. Is If they're able to do that, you're going to tell me they can't create a heart, a lung, a foot, a hand, skin of a human? We've done it
Right.
with pigs.
Yeah.
We've cloned Dolly the sheep back 50 years ago
Hmm.
or whatever. Uh, and these things just, it blows my mind that people still do not believe that this is stuff that is going on right here in front of our face. And we don't realize, well, people say, oh, well, it doesn't affect my life. I'm not worried about it. Well, it really does affect everyone's life because this stuff's going on. And as it's going on, it's going to change the direction of where we go. And they're going to force people now, like when you go to the doctor, well, the only therapy we can offer you now is this therapy that we're using. We're creating body parts, basically. And a lot of people that might go against their religion, where I don't want to take something that's not human and have it put on my body or in my body because then what does that corrupt my soul? Maybe some people might think like that,
Right. Right.
but what if that's the only choice we have at that point?
Hmm.
Then so it will affect everyone in the end. So I don't know.
And you said the magic word that I was going to ask you next.
What's
What
that?
about religion?
Religion? Yeah.
Conspiracy and religion.
Oh man.
What we got a few hours to talk about that, right?
Yeah. I mean, straight up, and everybody knows. When I have to classify myself, I will always say I'm a Christian. Um, Personally, I believe in God. Okay, I believe in a higher power, and I believe that even though the Bible was put together by man, because see, that's what people don't realize is the scriptures were written way before the Bible was put together, and so was the Jewish, the Hebrew texts, and not everything was put into the Bible.
Right.
A
Right.
lot of things have been left out. A ton of books,
Hmm.
a ton of ancient scripture was left out. But at that time, they wanted control. They want to control the people, you see. And then a lot of people will say, oh, well, Jesus never walked the earth. Well, if he didn't, we can go back and we can do historical research on the Roman governor who had him put to the cross.
Right. Right. And the
So,
Romans kept history written just as well as, or probably better than anyone else, especially
yeah,
at that time.
right. So you can look at it and say, okay, well, the guy who did have him crucified existed. So, and they talk about the man being crucified, Jesus. So that's proof right there. They'll say, yeah, that happened. But I do believe that religion is not, that's man made as well, because if there was one being, an omnipotent God, he would, we would just know it. If we were created, it would just be passed on generation to generation. We would know it, and you would feel it in your heart. Like I knew it when I was 9 years old because, but I wasn't praying, and something had happened in my life, and I was like, oh my God. I'm like, and I started thinking about it. Why would I say, oh my God, when I was in a life threatening point in my life? I was calling out to God subconsciously.
Right, right,
Like I was riding my bike, almost got hit by a car. I'm like, oh my God.
right.
Like you're like, oh my God, help me. And that was just by instinct. So it made
Okay.
me think, well, maybe this is in our DNA,
Hmm.
possibly. I don't know. But yeah, you can go. There's so many. I mean, I believe that, Enoch and the book of Enoch, there's several. I believe that the first one is a canon that we should use to research. We don't have to stick to it as far as putting it with scripture, but and also the Book of Giants, the Book of Jasher. A lot of these books people will debunk and say, "Oh no," but these were some of the scrolls that were found, the Dead Sea Scrolls. And I also believe that Thoth, when he wrote the Emerald Tablets, these are real things. We did not write and draw and paint back then unless we visually witnessed it.
Right,
And that's what
right.
people fail to realize is we used art, we used caves, we used the communication and parchments to describe what we were witnessing. And like I tell people, I believe that there were hybrid animals as well, because why would the Greek and even the Norse speak of these mythological centaur or minotaurs, or half human, half horse men? If the angels fallen, or the fallen ones, could come out of the earth and lay with women and create these giants, what's saying they couldn't take the form of an animal and make the animal, and we're having these abominations? That's where dinosaurs are coming into play, and these hybrids that we paint, that you see pictures of, Medusa, things of these, mermaids. Because if the angels came down and took form of man and laid with woman, and their offspring were 32-foot giants, then if they were doing that and they were still wanting to upset or piss off their father, who was God, and he wouldn't let them back in heaven, they're like, we're just going to corrupt everything. So they're taking forms of horses and fish, and they're fornicating with, and it speaks to this in the
Yeah.
book of Enoch, even. So to me, and that's when people say, "Oh, well, dinosaurs been here millions of years." I don't personally believe the Earth is millions and billions and jillions of years old. I believe that the dinosaurs, the giants, man, angel, we were all clumped up here at
Yeah.
one point. We were all here together, and that's where the flood comes in to wipe it out and try to start over. But a lot of that came through, not the full blooded, like maybe, a partial, but the DNA is still carried on. And that takes us to Afghanistan, another conspiracy. The giant in that cave that took on that platoon.
The Kandahar giant, right?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, why would they write about that and talk about that? I mean, and have there's actual documentations of that helicopter medevacing a guy out who was speared.
Yeah. It was skewed. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
skewered. So I mean, unless they were having a barbecue and they're having a javelin contest and he accidentally got stuck and that's why it's recorded. Who knows?
Mhm.
But there is records. So,
Yeah.
and I don't know. It just makes you think. I mean, conspiracies go all. I mean, that's why it's such a broad deal, man. And we could just keep talking about.
Yeah, yeah. It's like no matter what you say, you'll say a key word that I'm thinking about. Like, when you mentioned about about like the Minotaur and stuff like that, that led me right into thinking about DNA. What about us? Are we been manipulated by the government in any way, or not just the government, by other intelligent races? Because you've heard that one
Oh
too, I'm
yeah.
sure. That we were created by aliens.
Hmm.
Um, yeah. There's just so much you can branch off to, no matter what you talk about.
I
And
I believe that our DNA has been tampered with. Absolutely. Um, if the aliens are demons or if the aliens are fallen angels, and because the more research I've been doing, to me it kind of opens up to where these fallen watchers that did all of this, they're the Greek and the Norse. That's their pantheon of gods. They were all gods then, the different gods, you see? The god of war, and then the god of, this and that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they taught them, they would teach them. So I don't know. I mean, yeah, I don't, I don't denounce anything. I think anything is possible. And until the day I die, I will believe that Sasquatch exists and everything else because I just know in my heart that, you know, we found stuff that leads that direction, and not just with that, with everything. So we can't just discount it. We can't say because I can't feel, touch, and smell it that it doesn't exist. Because there could be so many different theories, even like we just said with Sasquatch or Bigfoot. He could be interdimensional. He could not be. Hell, he could just be a great hunter and he knows how to camouflage. And
Yeah.
he'd be right in front of you and we just don't see him.
Yeah.
They could just be watching us. We think we're watching them. We don't know. But there is other proofs out there. Where are we getting these casts of feet? Or hair, or who's building these breaks, and and these trail cams now that are picking up footage. And then I don't know about that footage that was about 4 years ago that was in Yosemite. That just blew my
Yeah. Yeah.
mind.
Yeah.
I don't know
Or
if
the following the
anybody,
buffalo.
yeah, I don't know if anybody debunked that as those being people or buffalo, but that to me that was it looked like a family of Squatch back then. I mean, I was like, wow. Did you ever see that video?
Yeah. 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 I've seen it. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what to think of that video. Um, but I've seen it. Thicker Thunker did a thing on that,
Mm-hmm.
and that looked. Hill was does a good job. I don't know if you ever watched him.
So yeah,
Thinking,
sometimes
yeah,
I
yeah,
yeah
yeah, 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 yeah. He did a video on that, and he did a pretty good job on that, and it's pretty convincing. But,
wow
yeah, yeah. So that was pretty fascinating.
yeah it's wild. Yeah, I mean it's just the world of conspiracy, folks. We say, and I don't mind using the word anymore, but paranormal, fringe, uh, science that the scientists don't want to lean towards. It's so fun to research it and go find all these different things. I mean, from the Mandela effect to interdimensional travel, time travel, space, alien. I mean, it's just so much. I mean, once you jump in the rabbit hole, man, you've got to stay focused because every 2 steps there's another tunnel you can go down.
Yeah,
I mean, and so you got to stay focused when you're trying to research on one thing.
yeah,
And I've been doing it for 15 years,
yeah.
and man, I probably scraped the surface. I'm very knowledgeable in maybe 3 or 4 areas, and then other areas I'm as dumb as a door. So,
Yeah. Oh, shit. But
but
hey, man, we're coming up on the end of the time here that I'm allotted to have.
okay,
Um,
brother.
yeah, man. Give your group a shout out again, man. Tell us what you're about and where we can find
Sure.
you.
Yeah, you guys can always find us at brrsmedia.com, or you can just type in at BRRSF, and it'll take you to the fan page on Facebook. And from those two places, man, you can find us. We're on Twitter, Instagram. We're really reaching out in a lot of different places, and we do contests weekly. I give away sweatshirts, they have this, or we do other stuff. I mean, we do conspiracy shirts, seek truth shirts, and I'm giving the stuff away. I mean, like next Saturday, I'm going live on Facebook, and we're giving away 2 or 3 items from the vault. So just check it out. I mean, we do everything, man, too. And I'd love to have you back on, Joe, and we can
Yeah,
talk about something, man.
yeah,
We'll figure it out. I've got a good lineup coming up, man,
okay,
this year.
yeah,
And yeah, as
yeah,
always, man, it was great to see you, brother.
yeah,
You look
man.
good.
Yeah, man. It's good seeing you too, man. I've had some new experiences out there too.
Yeah, man,
So,
I would love for you to come share them, dude. We'll
yeah,
do
man.
it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love to do that for you.
Absolutely. All
But yeah,
right.
man. Thanks a lot again for coming on, man. Dude, we gotta do this again because you got so much knowledge, man. It's crazy.
Oh man, thanks, dude.
Yeah,
I appreciate it. Maybe next time we can just pick a specific
yeah.
topic,
There
and
you
I'll
go.
and I'll just delve deep on it for
There you
you,
go.
and
Yeah,
we can
man.
go there.
Yeah,
And
man. We
if
can do that.
people, yeah, and if people want to interact, man, leave your comments, call me out, and
Yeah,
we can talk about it. So,
yeah. That
all
sounds
right,
good.
man. Thank you, brother, for having me on.
Yeah, thank you too, man. I appreciate it.
All right, man. Be good, Joe.
You too, man. Thanks.
Thanks, guys.